And to Chairman of the meeting, declare the meeting open. Live stream statement, the order of council wishes to advise members of the public that council meetings will be recorded and will be available each meeting on council's website. All care will be taken to maintain the privacy of those in attendance. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, you will keep the phone by remaining in the public gallery should the set is given to the event. Any filming by television cameras, if attendance is recorded. Item 3 is acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge that we're here today on the land of the Wamba Wamba Pareppa people. I would also like to acknowledge and pay my respects to past Aboriginal elders, the present Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who reside within this area and their future generations. Item 4 is statement of purpose. I have come here as a councillor freely and without bias to represent the views of the community in considering the matters before us today, to vote in a matter I consider to be in the best interest of the community, to observe the code of conduct and respect the rule of the chair and views of my fellow councillors. Item 5 is apologies. I think we're all in attendance, so there's no there. The minutes of the previous meeting in August have been circulated. Would someone like to confirm that they've been received? Moved by Councillor Metcalfe, seconded by Councillor Wallace. All those in favour? Disclosure of interest should have been given to Belinda. 10, and I'll hand over to the General Manager, who is the returning officer for the mayoral election. I'll locate the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, we have Councillors, we have a recommendation in front of you. The first item of business is for the council to determine whether there should be a deputy mayoral position and election for the further extended period as deputy mayor. Does anybody like to move a motion around having a deputy mayor?
I think we should have.
Councillor McCrad. Second, Councillor Wallace. If there's any dissent, so all those in favour, carry. The second item for determination by the council is the determination of the method of voting for the mayor and deputy mayor, if applicable. There's 3 options. One is an ordinary ballot. One is the second is a preferential ballot. And the third is a show of hands. I believe it's custom and practice here that there is an ordinary ballot, which is a secret ballot. Does anybody have a mover? Do I have a mover first?
Yeah, I'll know that.
So an ordinary ballot?
Yeah.
That's the best way because you'll get a couple of forms.
It's a haircut.
Looks like there's consensus, so I'll carry. Second on to the election of the mayor, given that council has determined that it will be an ordinary ballot. Belinda will issue numbered and registered ballot papers to you all. There is 3 lines. We have 2 candidates. I'll just call if there's any further candidates for the position of mayor amongst the councillors. The 2 candidates are Councillor Brennan and Councillor Betts.
Thank you. Question?
Yes.
I don't know how this works. I've never been in I think my 30 years, I've never actually seen a mayoral election. So I think this is true, and I think it's good. I think it's great. You know, it shows that the organisation's alive and well, and best of luck to both candidates. But I was just wondering, returning officer, whether we can hear a few words from these.
Yes, by all means. Councillor, once so the ballot papers have now been issued, so I'll very much give an opportunity for each of the candidates to speak to their candidacy. And given, I'll put that in order of nomination. So, Councillor Brennan.
I'll just put a question, General Manager. When you said the the normal practice is ordinary ballot. And following on from Councillor McAllister's comment that had never been in an ordinary ballot before, I was of the view that Deniliquin Council's previous method was show of hands.
Okay, so apologies for that if I've got that wrong, but yeah, okay, let's that one.
As in the original.
Yeah, so I mean, the council has determined to do a secret ballot, but
Yes, just on
on this last people, there, that's just what I heard, but yeah, I think we had a mover in a second or so.
yes, okay.
So on the ballot paper, what do you want people to do?
So on the ballot paper, there is 3 lines that makes allowance for a preferential ballot, so you don't need to fill in all 3 lines, just one name. And that'll be either Councillor Brennan or Councillor Betts. And then they've all been registered, so there's a record that there's actually 9 ballot papers, not more than 9, not more than 9. If you do make a mistake, the advice I have is that we tear that up and we re-register a new one. But they have been circulated, not in order, so there's no linking up of who's voted what. That should be a separate ballot. And once the ballots have been issued, we have a hat, for want of a better term, a box that we if you can follow it before, so be cautious, so that it can't be understood as to which way you're voting, and we put them all in the hat and we'll draw them out one at a time and register who got how many votes.
So for council ballots, how do you vote informally? Yes.
Really encouraging that, Councillor McAllister. Very much, it'd be great to see the democratic process. Given there's 9 councillors in the room, the process will be that, I mean, if all of the ballots are valid, then there will be an uneven number of votes, so there should be one winner, one clear winner. If there is an informal ballot and there's an even number of votes and those votes are tied, then there is a drawing by lots. So we would put 2 names into a hat and we'll randomly draw one of those names as being one. That's the process. Any questions? Okay, I'll ask Councillor Brennan, would you like to say some words to your council?
Yes, a lot of it, so we'll keep this short. Look, I've been here a while, everyone should know, 26 years in local government. Over that period, I've been 12 years as mayor of the council and the last 4 years in the River Council. I've represented both those councils over the journey on a lot of different committees, ranging from the easy topic of water to the hard, difficult topics of development and whatever it might be. So look, my track record is there for anyone to have a look at, and wish everyone all the best and good luck, Peter.
Thanks, Councillor Brennan. Councillor Betts, would you like to say a few words?
Well, I hope you don't mind. I didn't know how this works, so I wrote down the council. So if I can just read off that, excuse me, people, please. Good morning, everybody. First and foremost, I really wish to make this clear that this nomination is not personal. This nomination is about sending messages, it's about opportunities, and it's about building solid foundations based on honesty, accountability, transparency, through information networks, and most importantly, teamwork. Solid foundations begin with the General Manager and the Mayor working closely together, whilst at the same time respecting and appreciating each other's role in the organisation. This relationship is what sets the example that will ultimately filter down through to the rest of the staff. Deniliquin Council and Conago Council no longer exist, whilst Edward River Council is new and fresh and deserves a fresh set of eyes. This nomination is about setting up an example that hopefully inspires many others to put up their hands and nominate at the upcoming election. This nomination is about the passion I have for Edward River Council and some of its high profile projects, including but not limited to the seniors living. The opportunity to see that up and running and to finally fill that long-awaited gap in our community is awesome. To leverage every possible opportunity from this project to obtain as many other services as possible for our area would be awesome. I wish for nothing better than to see Edward River Council thrive, prosper and grow. And I want to be able to look back in time and say, with your help and your assistance, look at what we together as a collective and a team have managed to achieve. As always, that's my thought.
Thanks, councillor Betts. So everybody has a ballot paper in front of them. I would ask you, unless there's any further questions, to write your voted on the ballot paper and fold it into form so that nobody can determine what the vote is made. Okay, councillors. I have 9 ballot papers, I believe. Everyone's put it in. So I'll call out the votes. Councillor Betts, 1 vote. Councillor Betts, 2 votes. Councillor Brennan, 1 vote. So the purpose one is Councillor Betts, 1 vote. I'll be clear. Councillor Betts. Councillor Brennan. Councillor Brennan. Councillor Betts. Councillor Brennan. Councillor Brennan. So I have 4 votes for Councillor Betts and I believe 5 votes for Councillor Brennan. So I declare Councillor Brennan as the new mayor. Councillor Brennan, will you say?
No, you may finish.
Very good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The second item is for the election of deputy mayor. We have 2 nominations so far. One from Councillor Fogarty and the other from this morning from Councillor Hall. Are there any other nominations for the position of deputy mayor? Those nominations, I'll just ask whether the 2 candidates for deputy mayor would like to speak to their candidacy. Councillor Fogarty, you're nominated first.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, look, I would just like to say, I'll pick up on some of the things that Peter has said in her delivery in regards to me, that this is a new opportunity. I know I've been in the role for quite some time. I've been delighted to have supported Norm through that time. And I'm happy to continue to do that. Really want to see some of the big projects that we've put into place come to fruition, particularly, again, like Councillor Betts said, the senior living project is top of the list. Yes, the town hall is very much second of the list. It was shown with that project that it's come under some challenges with COVID, but hopefully it will be well on its way by the time we go to the election when we have a whole new ballgame. But yeah, I would like to continue to support Councillor Brennan in the role over the next couple of months until we go to the election.
Thanks. Councillor Hall, would you like to?
Oh, just quickly, yeah, no, just thought long now, I thought, thank you for putting your hand up, it's not a small feat to put your hand up in, with the long-term meeting, so, just a role, I think, but look, it's just that I've been a long-term councillor as well, Western Elephant, and of course, Super River, held these roles, administrative roles, as you know. Very difficult roles that I've filled, but I think my knowledge is second to none in terms of what I can offer, in terms of supporting the mayor, particularly the general manager. I think teamwork is the critical thing with this. And also I think challenge too sometimes that this is not sort of view that this is my opinion that can count to particularly at that second level. So I'm all for the River Council and finishing these major projects and also developing the teamwork needed to make us into I think already a great council, but even a better one. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hall. Are there any other questions before councillors cast their votes? Okay, I'll ask you to do the same as you've done with the two candidates this time on Councillor Fogarty and Councillor Hall. Thank you. Okay, the votes are Pat Fogarty. Sorry, Councillor Fogarty. Councillor Hall. Councillor Hall. Councillor Hall. Councillor Fogarty. Councillor Fogarty. Councillor Hall. Councillor Fogarty. Councillor Fogarty has been elected. Congratulations, Councillor Fogarty.
Thank you, everybody, for your support.
Thank you all, and hand back to you, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to take the chair.
All right, item 10.2 of the meeting is schedule of ordinary meetings.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is a, if you like, a placeholder because of the postponement of the ordinary council election from 2020 to 2021, and further postponement to December 2021. We have only got our meeting scheduled up until this time, so we need to get council to determine its forward schedule of elections. It's proposed to put dates in a similar manner that has been current practice of council, which is the third Thursday every month. With the exception of December, where there will be a council election, and to have in its place, instead of a December meeting, a January meeting, because that will be the first meeting of the new council. The new council can determine a different order of events and so forth once they're elected. But for now, the recommendation is to pursue to Section 365 of the Local Government Act to set forward a schedule of meetings as indicated in the attachment.
Moved by Councillor Fogarty, seconded by Councillor Hall. Any questions? I just make the comment that the election's on the 4th of December and it's still open for postals until the 18th. So what the council will not have is either a mayor or deputy mayor until the 20th of January, so that's 6 weeks.
Who's going to be, does that make filter of rooms in the meantime or?
It's a meeting of one.
It's always.
If we haven't been in a situation where it's been for a couple of months,
No, not before this, in my experience, never.
Can I just respond to that, Mr. Mayor? We'll essentially be in caretaker period on the last council meeting on the 18th of November. And essentially, there will be no opportunities for council to make any decision until it's elected as new mayor and it's had its first meeting. So there won't be a lot of major decisions made. Any decisions that I make will be in course of events that will be ordinary decisions, under as per my delegation.
One option might be councillor Metcalfe that the new council, once it's implemented, might have an extraordinary meeting. One scheduled in January, but that's not the new council.
I think that should be.
Absolutely.
Well, any further questions? We're moved and seconded. No further questions. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 10.3, mayor, councils and general managers votes.
I just get, I attended a meeting on the 26th of August.
Moved by councillor Foley. Have we got, moved by, seconded by councillor Wallace. Any further comments or additions that, no? Someone like to move the, moved and seconded, right, no further comments. All those in favour? Yes, carried. 10.4 is resolutions of council.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Monthly report on progress of the resolution of council. Note this year, 39 resolutions, 18 which are closed.
Someone like to move the recommendations? Report moved by councillor Crabb, seconded by councillor Foley. Any questions or comments on those recommendations already? All those in favour? Yes, carried. 10.5 is the 2021 telecommunications applications review draft submission.
Mayor, there's been an opportunity for the federal government to seek review into regional telecommunications. There's been a draft submission on behalf of Edward River Council as it's part of council's advocacy strategy and very much high on the agenda of things that council would like to change. And that is improved telecommunications, either broadband or cellular technology, particularly in our outlying areas. So the draft has been provided as an attachment for the community to view and also in advance to the council as we discussed in the workshop. There's been some minor adjustments made to it based on feedback from councillors. Looking forward to recommending that it gets adopted and submitted to the Telecommunications Review Committee.
Sure. Recommendations there. Would someone like to move with that recommendation? Moved by councillor Foley, second. Seconded by councillor Hall. Any questions or comments to do? Councillor Wallace.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I should have brought this up the other day. On page 60, the report, we've got the map of the coverage of the Shire Council area. Just noting that I can't produce it now because I'm not quick enough, but when the Barugan Tower is, you've got your green hashed in area, which is 4G. I went on the Telstra site, and if you go to 3, that doubles in an area. So I'm just wondering if we should put a note if they turn off 3G, that whole area will just go forward. The council's going to make a loose service straight away.
Yes, that's a very good point. just trying to go back to.
They're going to find and involved.
Yeah.
What's the proposal through Judy?
Well, they are showing there.
Do we know when and what?
No dates as yet, Mr. Mayor. But it is indicated in the paper, the discussion paper put forward by the committee, that it will be shut down into the future, and they're looking forward to doing it sooner rather than later. That would be a major impact on.
That definitely needs to be brought out on all that outlying area.
Well, in terms of them, you know, when they shut it down, we all lost service and they're going to do it again without putting some other fallback position.
You have what to say?
No.
The close of submissions is the end of September, so if you like, I'll put together a paragraph underneath there. Or if the council is informed, I'll submit it in the change form.
Really, that shouldn't close it down until appropriate service in whatever form.
Yeah, that's, their idea is they will give you better service from a smaller area.
That's not.
They don't.
As in service as in area or as in service as in?
Less area, but more data and more speed.
We might want to put a draft together so that the interested people can add to it.
That was on the Zoom council, mate. True.
Moved and seconded. Yes, any further comments or questions?
No, I think with the comment, I mean, I think like I said at the workshop that it was a great initiative and well done to the GM for putting this petition together, because it is really important that we have a voice. Well done.
No further comments or questions? Moved and seconded. All those in favour? 10.6 is the annual financial statement.
This report just highlights the overlap that we'll have this year with the caretaker mode during the time when we will see the year report and annual financial statements approved. So in preparation for that, we will need a second councillor appointed today, approved by the councillors to sign the annual financial statements with the mayor and the general manager. Just asking for you guys to note the overlap and to appoint a councillor.
Can you just explain that again? What, I know it's because it's caretaker moment, but currently it's just the mayor doing that.
So what we have each year is the mayor signs, as does a second councillor that we usually appoint on the day, but given we're going to be in caretaker mode and in relation to that, we can't do that. We need to ask you to do it, to nominate someone now.
I second that.
He's the only one that agree with it.
Happy with it? Councillor Crabbe? Moved by Councillor McAllister, Councillor Hall.
Sorry.
Questions, comments?
Any conflict?
I don't believe so. And we are also asking for council to delegate to the mayor, the nominated councillor and the general manager to act if required on behalf of council in relation to any variations and timeframes associated with signing of the annual report with annual financial statements.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions? All those in favour? Against? 10.7 is the reserve report for August.
Thank you. I think we've got Renee on the line as well on Zoom. Yes. I'll take the report as read, but for last month we had investments totaling 48.9 million. This is an increase of 1.6 million for the month, and that's mainly due to the Transport for New South Wales and the Finance financial assistance grants, as well as the first instalments of our rates. We are asking council to note our investments totaling 48.9 million. Note our actual accrued interest received as 21,000, and the interest earned but not yet received as 141,000.
Moved by Councillor McCrae, seconded. Councillor Wallace, any questions or comments this evening? No questions or comments, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 10.8 is the Grants Commission. Financial assistance grants.
This is for council tonight. We received our financial assistance grants for this year. We received 4.3 mil compared to 4.2 million last year. This is an increase for us of 2.2%, with the average across the state being 1.7%. We've got above average. In the budget, this gives us a positive financial movement of 63k, so it's increasing what we had budgeted for. Any questions, comments?
Was there any explanation? Was it because we're very good that we the additional percentage?
No, we didn't get any explanation. The letter is there detailing everything, but no, there was no examples. But I think it is because of
Financial adjustments to the CPI meant that the pool was bigger, so then everyone was apportioned a little bit more.
Yeah. So, but it is also noted that over the coming years, they expect that the grants will drop given the financial situation. Well, I believe they're going to decrease. We are being flagged on the decrease at this stage.
Well, any other questions? A bit of a mover for that report, we know. You moved by Councillor Betts, seconded. Councillor McCrae. No further comments or questions? All those in favour? Yes. Carried. 10.9 is the request for water transfers for both the racecourse and the golf club.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The request on the racecourse and the golf club is a separate request for in total 240 megalitres of water to be transferred from council's high security town supply to each of the groups. As noted in the report and discussed during the workshops, this won't impact on the town's security. And there was also discussion around that there's no opportunity then for these groups to on-sell all that with the water. So it is in support of community groups. They have raised councillors in the recommendation that as part of if it is resolved, council resolves to it, that it will be clear to the groups that it is a year on year, and depending on water restrictions and other situations at the time, we'll also be looking at getting each of the groups to provide a report back to council on how much they use and what impact, what help that the water has provided to the groups. So council staff are recommending that council approve the transfers to each of the groups.
Moved by Councillor McAllister, seconded by Councillor Betts. Any questions or comments for Mark? No? All those in favour? Carried. Item 10.10 is the DA for the Pretty Pie landfill transfer station. Morning.
Report 10.10 is for development applications 7221. It's for conversion of the Pretty Pie landfill to a transfer station. The details of the development are detailed in the report. And it's approved, that it's recommended that the application be approved, and subject to conditions. I'll move the recommendation.
Moved by councillor Fogarty. Your second. Councillor McAllister. Any questions, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, just your wording there, the application generally complies with Plan B. Just wondering, like, is that a sort of
Oh, well. It is our standard reasons for approval, and yeah, it says generally, but we're not saying there's things that don't comply, though we just say in general.
just because it is our application, so I can imagine.
No, not at all, it's just in general. There's no, any areas that were non-compliant will be highlighted, so it's just the way the statement's worded, but that is the standard wording.
That's great.
Interesting terminology. Either it's compliant or not compliant.
Plain as speak.
Plain.
We don't know.
What's this on? Mac?
I was just going to ask Martin Murray, the solar power station seems a bit extravagant, doesn't it? Is that just compulsory?
It's not compulsory, sort of part of, with the funding, we included in that. There'll be a separate report that goes on about sort of the construction in that, so I'll leave that discussion to that later report. Ultimately, as it is with any DAs, once it's approved, it's there forever, so it gives opportunities that if we don't, if council doesn't do that at this time, that there's approval in the future to implement a solar panel. So there's definitely in the planning for it, that's part of the application. Whether it's done at this stage or not, it's a separate discussion.
Any further questions? Moved and seconded. All those in favour? Councillor Corrigan, Councillor Hall, Councillor Betts, Councillor Metcalfe, Councillor McAllister, Councillor McLeod, Councillor Ball, Councillor Wallace, thank you, and myself, Ball. Wasn't quick enough. Item ditto 10.12, 10.11, sorry, which is the same thing.
Development application 73 for the conversion of the Carnago management to council station. Details of the application contained in the report, and the recommendation is that the application be approved. The application generally complies with the applicable plan.
Moved by councillor Krebs, seconded by councillor Hall. Any questions? All those in favour? Against, carried, not one, just passed. I'll get division again, sorry, councillor Corrigan, councillor Hall, councillor Betts, councillor Metcalfe, councillor Costa, councillor Wallace. And I'm full, and I might just make a comment. I got told that the roof to the Carnago Hotel goes on next week. Things are still progressing, which is good. So they're good. Little side. Item 10.12, which is DA for the first works Pepin Heritage Centre. Murray.
So development application 4721 is for internal and external refurbishment works at the Pepin Heritage Centre. The report details the works to be undertaken, generally for maintenance and repairs works. The application is referred to New South Wales Heritage as its integrated development, so are required to give their general terms of approval, which has happened. So the application is recommended for approval, subject to the conditions. As the proposal is consistent with the zone and design character of the area and it's appropriate given the character of the area.
I'll move.
Moved by councillor McCarthy.
So State Heritage is actually signed off on this one.
State Heritage has issued general terms of approval, which those general terms require getting a section 60 certificate on approval, but that basically guarantees, because it's integrated, that they will get that approval.
So we're not into the boring gardens again.
No. We, it took quite some time to get through this process. But yeah, we got there. They just will now need to get the section 60, which hopefully is not a. No, that's right, and I'll go a little bit further on that, but basically they are just identified mainly the funding was going forward, so they will not complete those. Include what's there and keep it.
There has been some overlap with what's been put together, and as well as the project manager.
No, this obviously wasn't generally compliant, so I had to do that in post.
No, we proposed conditions on everything. It was actually consistent, so.
Yes, I was. So we're actually approving 47 acres. But these additional conditions.
Yeah, as is the case with, they will have conditions, but they'll also have conditions from the Heritage Department as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Talking about facilities, but just to clarify the council, it's all externally funded and it's funding has been received for it. It's also, the cost is $450,000. When you look through the detail of what's to happen,
A lot of the costs involved in the roof works. So like might be professional, you need materials such as slate.
and also when you start to compare, start to go to all stuff.
We will make it a practice of doing contingencies within the projects. And planning, quite big sometimes to execute. So that's probably why this is taking some time to get to the DA process, because you need to get people, like usage advice, but also other experts to give us some advice on the best way. So
Well, I mean, obviously, the state of the building is going to be
great question.
So under all grant funding, this has been very before. So grant funding will go up to that maximum, and you won't get additional money from that grant funding. Like so, for example, council is able to leverage quite a number of different funding things throughout from the country using that. So we've been able to make sure there's enough money there. So this one at the moment is coming out. Council already has some grant funding and there's also some of its own building renewal funds to it. So some two projects there, but yeah, there is a contingency there. The Ted's already looking at that because especially around the slate roof, you start doing that because it's doing it. So one of it's going to be around the repairs to the slate roof, what's required, not a whole thing, mainly the visual, the visible sides of it from the road, as a way of making sure the scoping's in line with the funding and to manage that process.
Now, what's the timeline for this?
I'll look to get back to council on that. It's all up in the air. Still, as Murray said, before, with section 60, which should go through the council working through this project, and then contractor availability in the current premises. I'll take that on notice. Sorry, I don't have any.
Thank you. We've got to move it. We've got a second. Councillor Hall, second. Any further questions? All those in favour? Oh, division, sorry. Division again. Councillor Forrady, Councillor Hall, Councillor Betts, Councillor Metcalfe, McAllister, McCray, Hall, Wallace, and I'm 14. You carry it. Now, item 10.13 is the Local Heritage Fund for 21-22.
So yes, the Local Heritage Fund is run and jointly funded every year by Council and New South Wales Heritage. Has been finalised. There was 5 applications received, 4 of which were recommended for funding. The general way this is run now is that the Council's Heritage Advisor reviews the applications as well as Council's planning staff, and then his recommendations are made based on his funding weightings or listings that are given to different buildings depending on whether they're state heritage listed, locally listed, in the conservation area, good examples, improvement of streetscape. So the Heritage Advisor has made his recommendation and then a copy of his report and the scoring that he's going to weight those. On review of those by planning staff, we felt that the further funding or a greater percentage of the funding should have gone to the Canago Hotel retaining the facade. So the recommendations of the Heritage Advisor have been changed to give additional funding to the retaining of the facade or the strengthening of the facade. It's council's role to determine if they want to vary that funding, because the end decision is council's. We're just acting on recommendations from the Heritage Advisor and planning staff. The recommendations have been made that the project be funded as follows. The fund is only a total fund of 16,250, so it's not a big fund. And when we get large projects, it's pretty difficult. But it's been recommendation that Canago Hotel facade restoration be given $10,000, 46 Napier Street, which is in the conservation area, funding of 3,000. 252 Harfleur Street, repainting the dwelling is grant of 1,750, and 337 Henry Street for a new fence, bill of 1,500. As you can see, probably on the second page of the report, there's big amounts for projects and small amounts able to be funded. So in council's hands if they want to vary any of those recommendations, but that's sort of how it's come down to it.
Councillor McCray.
Page 274, just got the recommended grant for 46 Napier Street, 3750. And you have got
we're trying to give additional funding to.
Yeah, I just thought that, I thought the recommended grant should be what is up there on that table.
It's probably summarised.
Yeah, that was the Heritage Advisors. That was his.
Okay, that's his recommendation and council's.
Yeah,
That's right.
on the second page of the report, there's,
Yeah.
the Heritage Advisors.
grant funding that's recommended and council's recommended funding.
Councillor Rico.
Just a question. Some of these applicants are regular submitters, I think. So the person who actually missed out, the individual, have they lodged an application before, or why, apart from the criteria also denied because it didn't meet the scope? But I just find that I can see 2 or 3 in there regular. Well, they get regular contribution.
But they have,
So
one has received funding that I'm aware of before.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why the number 2 was denied? I'm not to say that who it is or what they're doing, but obviously, why couldn't they just divvy up a portion on 2, 3, 4, and 5 to say that they all get a grant?
Yeah, I have to agree with the reason why that project wasn't funded, because it's not visible from the street at all. The property has a high fence that you will not see what they're doing. They're doing tiling works to a front veranda. So, and one of the criteria is that it's visible from the street. It adds to the streetscape, and it won't. Yeah. Yeah.
Councillor Hall.
Just the Canargo, we got, just a previous experience with the painting, didn't happen, and one of the funding was rejected. So is there a contingency, because I'm not sure where the plan to the Canargo doing these works, or system, there's no time frames that's extended, so they were letting the contingency, they can't do it in break time.
The 10,000.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, I think because of the listing that we've got on the facade, we couldn't build a new wall, front the same, 30,000 cheaper than what it's going to cost you to make sure that the original.
I've got no issue with the.
No, the 10,000 is just.
The time frame.
He'll get it done.
So the works some works have started on the restoration of the facade, but the works that he's still got to do in time with this funding. The worst came to worst, there is a second part of the recommendation that if any of these projects can't meet these timeframes, don't go ahead, then we would offer it to the next highest project, highest ranked project. So, it's definitely, if we lost 10,000 out of the fund, if it wasn't expended next year, we will get less, they will say we didn't need it all. So we're very mindful that if it's not going to go ahead, or, it falls over or whatever, then we will pass it on to the next project.
Any further questions? Could we have a mover, please, for this recommendation? Councillor McCrae, seconded by Councillor Metcalfe. Any further questions? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
I think we realise that we got a much better process with the Heritage Advisors recommendations, the feedback, but we think much better than just being presented with your decision.
Item 10.14, which is the joint regional planning panel.
So the Joint Regional Planning Panel is a state appointed panel that deals with regional developments, which has, it acts for the Crown, and it has independent persons on the panel who make representations and determine regionally significant developments. Previously, we've had David Christie and Michael Keys, who are both leading planners at Albury and Wagga. They've been our reps since 2018, and we're required to re-nominate members of the panel. And we have requested or asked, will they be still interested in going on for another term, and they've indicated they would. They are experienced representatives, they know the council area. We haven't had a lot of things go to the panel, so it hasn't really been a problem, but yeah, for us, it's the easiest way to do it, someone who's regionally got the experience and is happy to represent our council, given that we can't have members involved that might be involved in the assessment or planning of applications that would go to the panel from our council. So we don't have massive staff that are not involved in assessment of applications. So that's pretty much the only way we could get expertise on the panel and have someone who has local knowledge and good planning background. So we've requested that they would nominate again, and they're happy to do that. But the recommendation is that they recommended for endorsement, and that council notified the planning panel of this.
Thanks, Barry. Just one like to move the recommendation here. I think it's pretty straightforward. Moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Hall. Any? Just what type of issues actually goes to that panel?
We just received advice yesterday that probably the first one in a while, first development application in a while to go to the Joint Regional Planning Panel will be the Sims Living Precinct. Just because of its visibility and its cost, it will need to be assessed by the Joint Regional Planning Panel. It isn't being coordinated deliberately, it's just coincidence that we've been required to not re-nominate who the planning panel representatives will be. And we've just received information that, the whole development needs to be considered in its entirety. I think it's a good news story because
that's good because it puts it at arm's length to council, given that it's council project. I think that's a really good idea.
And I think in practice, the staff do the majority of the assessment and processing. And the applicant, which will be council in this case, will need to put in probably a little bit more information that would otherwise be seen in a standard DA. But then it is sent off to the planning panel for consideration and ultimate decision. So it is a good story because it also brings it up as something that's of state significance. Yeah.
So is it dollars? Is it scope? Is it impact?
Dollars generally. Yeah.
Generally, anything over $5 million that's a council project is required to go. What we were hoping is that it was only considered on the stages. Yeah, but the first application has to consider the overall project plus any stages we're doing at that time. So we were well over. Yeah, they weren't overly forthcoming on that, but they did give a bit of an assurance that given that the type of project it is that they will pull it in early for a preliminary assessment on what the information we have, and then before it goes to the panel on anything else. So looking through their determinations and their other applications, on the website, you're looking 3 to 6 months.
So what can we do or can't do during that period of time?
We will start the process as soon as we have all the information for the application. We can start the notification process, the assessment process, any referrals we have to do. We can get right to the point of making our recommendation. We actually have to do a report to them with the recommendation. So we can go right through our process unless they call us back and say, you need this assessment, you haven't addressed this. So, yeah, we would just,
I was putting a range towards that we've made a lot of progress in the end. We're talking about 14 to 15.
yeah,
Can we continue doing that while planning and seeing the report?
Definitely. It's just construction that will be delayed until we get a DA and a CC.
yeah, they will see, due to the wonders of the planning portal. So once we say that they will be the determining authority, they will see what we've got. So, and unless there was something major, we just keep proceeding like we would with any normal application, yeah, until it's ready for the report to them. So.
Right, been moved and seconded. Any further questions? All those in favour? No. Item 10.15 is the Development Services Report.
So Development Services Report for August, details the applications received, our comparison, our processing times, which you may notice are up, and our application, number of applications determined, and our range of reports and details.
I'm happy to move.
Moved by councillor Crab, second by councillor Betts. Any questions or comments?
Just a question for me, just to know, how is the portal going and how are people coping with little here in the start?
Yeah, I thought we might talk about that. So definitely still a high level of confusion for both clients and staff. There is a big those people are actually having to come in, speak to us, and we are lodging their application for the basically, which is, you know, really difficult. And there's a high level of resistance using it. Because they don't want to, so they're holding on. I just had an indication, I've looked at the numbers of applications we received in June, very low, obviously, and we had 21 DAs lodged. In July, we had 5. And lodged means that they got to the point where we could actually start processing. And in August, we had 6. We've got in the planning basket, which is on the portal, it shows that there's 17 DAs either waiting for information, so they're just, it's holding things up. And some of those have been sitting there since the start of July. Yeah, 2 months. So it's definitely, it's not improving customer service, it's not improving assessment times, it's increasing customer waiting and times and frustration. It's impacting on our determination times. The standard of applications we're getting is poorer because they're just putting them in and, you know, when we're obviously going back and forth to try and get it. And yeah, it's just not, it's not user friendly for customers, it's user friendly for us. So yeah. Yeah.
We're feeding the information back to the people who implement it.
Yeah, so I inquired about the Ranjo, we're doing the Ranjo submission, which is about finalised now. They're just pulling all the council submissions together, so that they hope to get that off to the state and regional directors and also to the minister. And as council indicated last time, we
Well, not, and a lot of mine will be suggestions on how to best make it work for us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, look, that was my observation also, that the numbers were so far down on in previous years, even in years when we've had, people have been trying to crack with low incomes, droughts and all of those things, but there's numbers that are down on those things. So I wonder, do we need to take a stronger advocacy role to the minister in lodging our discomfort with this and the pressures that it's putting on staff, the additional pressures that it's putting on staff, and the impact that it can have on us, given that we're also competing with people who are prospectively looking at either developing in Victoria or developing here, where the Victorian system appears to be fairly streamlined and fairly focused, that things can move through very quickly. Where here we've got a massive now, huge roadblock for people. And I know, I think it's a good idea that we're also going through at a regional level, but I think we need to take a really strong focus to be putting it to the minister that this is causing considerable discomfort and disadvantage to us as a region.
States as the minister.
Do you want to? I'm just thinking along the line, so I know when's Ramjo's time to have the.
I spoke to the planner who was doing that yesterday, and she said she basically has got it all together. She's in the next week.
We wanted to do our own, still could, but it probably would be good to do it after the Ramjo votes.
Yeah.
We could have that for the end of September. And then send our own one-off, here's our issues.
I mean, it's not competing with the Ramjo.
No.
It's complementing the Ramjo one as well. Yes, I'd be happy to move a motion such as that, because I think that's really obvious, the profound impact it's having now. And it will probably get worse.
Just as an observation or a question, is the Ramjo council having very similar issues?
Yeah.
All across the board.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, they'll obviously send the letter that they're going to do about the issues. But I think I was talking to planning chief that they're nearly all repeated, like every council's put in very similar issues. Yeah, we like that.
You're talking about the planning, actually.
If I can summarise it seems to me that all the GMs are of one voice, and it's not just Ramjo, I've heard this across the state, that the planning department need to turn this off and make it not mandatory until they iron out the bugs. But that hasn't been heard at this stage because it hasn't been
Things would be very, the kissing needs to be very strong and directly to the minister. That, yeah, exactly that. Until it's right, until the system is a very smooth system and a user-friendly system, particularly for a number of people who could be lodging DAs that are not computer savvy in the degree that I would imagine you would need to be lodging this sort of information.
You happy with that motion, council authority? Every council right advocating turning off the portal until the system is correct and smooth for users.
Yeah, and that go to the minister as well as the head of department of planning as well. Yeah.
And pretty probably should send a copy of that letter to the local member.
And the local member, and why not the deputy premier and the premier as well, particularly the deputy premier, given that he has a focus for regional areas.
Exactly right.
Tax move that motion. Councillor Holly move that motion. All those in favour?
Just in terms of procedures, Mr. Mayor, there was a the recommendation to note the development service report. I'm just not sure whether that was considered. We ever voted on it?
I'll move to councillor Crabbe, second.
We haven't voted on that. All those in favour of that first original motion? Yes, carried. So 10.16, sorry if you can escape that. She is there. 10.16, so user group.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is in regard to council adopting the terms of reference for the Solomon Youth Group. It's been discussed by the council in the workshop before, with the changes that were discussed at the workshop being now incorporated into the terms of reference. Noted in the report, those changes around ultimately simplifying the membership and also around voting and that interaction between the group and council. So council staff are just recommending that council adopts it, and if council does so, we'll engage with the groups noted in the membership. Also attached to the report is just expression of interest, just to show council how that's going to look like for the community members on the
I'm happy to move that, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Crabbe, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any questions to Mark?
There might be a conflict of interest if I get asked to go on it. I'm going to start asking you.
In your own mind, Nick.
Absolutely. So for you to ask, absolutely.
What would be your conflict of interest?
A user, probably I can't hear else.
I thought that wouldn't be a conflict, but positive.
Well, I mean, where this table might be different compared to, so I reckon that I'm assuming I would be asked to go on it. I may not be, I don't know.
As a member, in the terms of reference, through Mr. Mayor, that there is permission for 2 councillors to go.
That's actually right.
So it would probably depend on your reading of you know which party you want to represent. So therefore, you might want to nominate when the recruitment period for the community members goes up. You may want to, and council has a decision to make around appointing the membership. Then we'll be asked to nominate 2 councillors to attend, and that will be the opportunity for you to nominate as a council representative.
That way you won't have a conflict if they represent the council.
Yeah, I probably won't be nominated. I think someone will tell me.
Just further that point, and yeah, being specific, because we've had this happen in some other groups where we have councillor and then also community or other groups. And it'd be as much the same here as for the agents. They get 2 agents and then stack the community members with agent representatives. So it's written that community members can't be available through the other. Definitely reiterate that you wouldn't have a conflict of interest because in coming on to groups and they're always bringing their own experiences. That's why you're on council. So unless there's a pecuniary interest in there,
You can't put it in your like that thing.
No.
It's on the agenda. One of the fix the old ones. I should fix the old ones first.
All right, we've got a mover and a second. No further questions? All those in favour? Carried. Moving on to.
When the advertisements for the expression of interest might go in. For people to go on.
Straight away, yeah, I was hoping to get the report, but it's better to get council to do the whole that. So Cassie's, got that in and around straight away.
You send it a bit, we've got a timeline.
They'll probably go around on our media tomorrow in the paper next week.
Item 10.17, Operations Department update report.
Thank you.
Yes, so the monthly.
Next, don't bring me to it, Norm.
Monthly update for the operations report, highlighting activities undertaken, more of a maintenance nature rather than the capital works, so there is some capital works noted. One of the ones that has come up, and I've had a number of councillors inquire requested with me, is around roadside spraying. So I see that in the report we have reported on roadside spraying done throughout August. That is in regard to the weeds action plan, weeds action program that's funded through LLS and mainly in areas in the east. We do have issues at the moment up in the northern area of the LGA regarding weeds. Some of it are quite high. With the operations staff resourcing that, it's been a bit of a learning for myself and for the staff around the Central Murray County Council, who would normally have gone and done that sort of spraying for us and our own resources. So we're aware that Central Murray is now being disbanded with resources going to each of the councils, and the staff that Edward Rivers got have been fantastic. One of the unintended consequences from it is just with their own resourcing, where they would normally have had larger trucks to come and do this sort of spraying, whereas now as part of getting rid of the council, they've actually sold off that larger equipment. So there's now only the smaller spray units with smaller tanks and that going out on the road. In discussions of why and sort of where we're at, that's come to a head. The operations staff have now contacted the contractor who does the work on behalf of Transport for New South Wales on the highway, and we're getting some prices and availability from them. So that spraying will be commencing in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're also going out, and there's a few areas that we do need to knock down, so we'll knock them down straight away and then get into the program utilising the contract sprayer.
The whole thing is, and Councillor McGrath always brings it up. The spraying should be done before the fire season gets to a point, or the weeds get to a point. Now, take on board what you're saying, but the whole thing is, this has been going on for the last 15 years. So don't say it's a surprise, because it happens every year. You should be out there spraying before it even gets that high. So don't say it's a surprise, because it happens every year.
It may be new to your role, however, the staff have been told every year to start in the north in August and work your way south. And the other thing with the reduction in capacity of our equipment, do they just fill up in town and then when they run out, they're going to come back to town? Is that how it works? Because to me, every fire shed's got a suitable water supply, and there's fire sheds right out through the whole shop, where they could fill up and take a fire truck with them.
That was one of the points that was brought up to me as a constraint around that, and it's the quality of water, because again,
all the fire sheds have got either bore water or rain water.
Just take a fire truck with them. That's what's being sitting in the yard all the time. Can I make a comment, please?
That's right.
Well, I raised this with Mike Berger over 2 weeks ago, and I realised that we're in a situation. And also it was in the conversation between Berger and I raised it 2 weeks ago when I was coming out of Coombe. And I really need to get onto this now, and I haven't discussions with him. And that's over 2 weeks ago. I rang Mark again on Monday and said, where are we at? And he wasn't aware. As far as I'm concerned, as the norm said, it's an issue that comes up every year. Now, I'm sure that in their program, they should have it set in early August, that they need to prepare to spray mid-August at the latest in the northern end and make the way down south, because I know the roads around here now, they're a foot high. And it's going to take probably a week for them contemplating getting out there, and it's going to be this high, as in that high, on the edge of the bitumen road. And you finish on the road then. No, but if you want to pass someone on that bitumen road, that's on a single road. You're getting off and you're breaking the bitumen every time you get off the road. Now, I repeatedly say it year after year, but nothing seems to be happening. Now, I know the David Kerslake had in the program to do it, and that's what he's assigned it to go out in the field and do this. Now, there's somewhere whether Tony's got access to that information, I don't know, but it just seems to be a remiss every year.
And further to getting back to the LLS spraying, a lot of that was done on the weekends. So it wasn't interfering with normal practice. And, you know, those rigs were out there on a Saturday to Sunday, you know, doing horehound and things like that. So that is not an excuse, because they were doing that on the weekends, so it shouldn't interfere with normal program. So it's just coordination and getting in front of it.
So, to the experts on the land, when is the right time where the flag should be raised to go and inspect?
It always every year.
What I'm trying to say is there should be in the system a process that flags, whether it's rain, whether it's Phil, whether it's sunny, this needs to happen.
It may change from sort of like 1 or 2 weeks, but generally,
It's in that program, so that's in.
is the time to do it, and you might delay it, like this year, you might delay it for a week or 2, because we got that 30 mils of rain a fortnight ago. But that's what's really caused this onset of growth there.
But outdoor staff should be coming back and saying, oh, right, I think that road needs slashing. But I don't think they come back and actually tell our high staff here to say this is what needs to be done.
And when the ratepayers actually go out and slash and spray their own roads, you know that you're not actually providing the service.
So in terms of the programming, that's definitely in infrastructure. So that's the highlighting around the reliance on just people's memories and a documented sort of documented processes. So it's not saying that the staff involved, and we do have long-term staff, but not involved. But there's exactly the things we're trying to pick up in terms of having programs, having sign-offs, and the council say yes, it's definitely done in line with those programs. So at the moment, for where we are and resourcing around catching up around sort of the spraying and that with the conditions actually out in the ground.
Can I suggest that in July each year, Mark, you bring to us a spraying program for the roadsides in the shire each year, July.
So into setting up, that'll be the trigger on that timing, and the work orders around that will be generated at that time. That's excellent.
So do we know that they aren't spraying roads at the moment?
No.
It's very obvious.
Very obvious. They're spraying.
Nothing. They're not working at all. No, they are. They're spraying morehound. Yeah. They are spraying. Spot spraying.
And that's the
That's spraying. No, it's spraying on highways.
Councillor Bull.
My concern is, I'm concerned about the height of the rigs. but we spent years maintaining the weeds along the side of the road, and now they're going to be, so we virtually lost all of these.
I asked you on Monday, Mark, and in the truck, and early morning, I reckon you would have found it very hard if the road was narrow for you to get off the road.
Oh, I'm kidding, we were not even seeing coming.
Back in the gentleman.
There is in the report 295 kilometres of roadside spraying, but it's obviously not hitting the right areas. So we'll take that on board and come up with that plan.
Because I can just see now that they're gonna have to spray, then they're gonna have to come back and slash.
So they're gonna slash first and then spray.
Either way, that slash has got to get out there now.
And I saw a John Deere tractor out there with a slasher on the other day. And I asked Mark whether we'd actually bought a John Deere. It wasn't ours. It was a David. He was slashing mine.
Where are we? Anything else on the,
One general business done.
Councillor Wallace?
Mark, can I just ask you, same with the Wanganore Cemetery, we always spray them. What's the process of asking the local landowners to put their stock in there now with the graves and stock? Is that your job? Mine job?
No, it's not your job. No, yeah, it's Luke's job. No, so that'd be through, part of the, land management. So it's within a Crown Land Reserve, council's the land manager, so yeah, that'll be with our staff. What's that one?
Councillor Hall?
Just with the vandalism in Scotts Park, I just, for the sake of me, I thought we had. There's no footage. There is.
Please check that it appears these perpetrators are pretty brazen. They'll just cover their faces up and stand there in front of the camera.
Probably not worth commenting.
Sure knows who they are. They've got, the footage has gone to the police and they're just there trying to manage them.
Is it worthwhile talking about that gate issue there, or we bring that up in different meetings? Yeah.
Yeah. We had a discussion on the report and there's some proactive. Someone like to move the recommendation we received the report, Councillor McAllister, seconded by Councillor McCracken. Any further comments or questions? All those in favour? 10.18 major projects from
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The monthly report on the major projects, and as council noted, there has been with the COVID rules and council, every council area been taken out of the Victorian border bubble, a major impact from those onto several projects, namely the town hall. So, council has definitely made representations to a wide range of people to try and get that looked at. I know the cross-border meetings and monthly meetings I sit in on, the general manager's very much on that, with the cross-border commissioners usually naming every River Council, myself and all on them, so trying to address them, but the town hall, until there's a change in that project, will unfortunately. The contractor is doing work off-site, so whatever work they can do off-site, prep work, when they get back on site, they are doing, and the contractor is very keen to get back on site. Another area that will impact is our road sealing and our road resealing. We have a contract with a Victorian-based company who would normally come and do that
late September, early October, so we're really coming into the majority of our sealing season. We're at the moment now looking for New South Wales-based companies who can come and do that sealing. So we'll see how that goes. There may be, we get a really good price from the current contractor, so if we need to go with a different contractor, there may be a price impact because we can't make a new contractor honour the existing contract pricing. But we do have jobs where sealing is important, not so much the reseals, but our construction works. We do need to get a sealing contractor in over the next few months. So that's something that's starting to work through. And yeah, just trying to minimise the impact from COVID at the moment and keep the projects going.
Well, it's been a feedback that there's potentially a severe shortage of contractors being able to get to this region.
Given that they're a Victorian company, Mawsons, yeah, I've heard that one, but that wouldn't surprise me now.
At the moment, it's limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have asked the staff to be mindful when we've got projects in the middle of projects, you can't do too much, but if we do know that there are those significant issues, I just want them to think about whether we do open up projects. Whilst we want to get in and do projects, having projects starting a bit later and not having them opened up just to sit is something that we need to start to look at the whole project. When's the best time to actually do that impact, and we're going to have a bit more confidence that we'll be able to just come in and do the work.
So Maud Road, for example, you can prepare more distance.
Yeah.
But not that you find the tree.
Not
until you're late.
Yeah, that's the way of doing that. Plus, that one's not too bad because we do have other contractors that we've used out of Griffith and out of that northern area, and given that's up in that area, that probably get competitive pricing on that one.
Right. Someone could move that the report be received. Moved by councillor Hawke, seconded by councillor McCrae. Any further questions to Mark or comments on the report? No? All those in favour? No. Against? Carried. Now, that's the general meeting. Do we want to have a 5-minute break? And so I'll close the meeting. No, I won't close the meeting. I'd like to move to county confidential counsel. All those in favour? Please carry.
Yes, Mr.
All right, now we're back into general counsel after closing confidential counsel. I'll read the recommendations from those confidential matters. Item 13.1 was for contract C 202110 for the August Street and Browning Street reconstruction. And the recommendation is that council accepts the tender submitted by Denny Civil and Construction for the contract of Augusta Street and Browning Street reconstruction for the lump sum tender price of $827,748. 2, authorise the general manager and mayor to sign and affix the common seal of the Evil River Council to the contract documentation. And 3, delegate the contract superintendent to approve variations up to a maximum of 10% of the contract value to allow any issues that may arise. The second item in confidential counsel was 13.2, which was conversion contract C 2021-07, conversion of the Conago Prettyfied landfills to transfer station. The recommendation was that the council, 1, accepts the revised tender price by Denny Civil Construction for the contract conversion of Conago Prettyfied landfills to transfer station with lump sum tender price of $204,400 plus GST. 2, authorise the general manager and mayor to sign and affix the common seal of the Evil River Council to the documentation. And 3, delegate the contract superintendent to approve variations up to the maximum of 5% of the contract value to allow for any issues that may arise on site. That therefore concludes the chamber meeting for the Evil River Council. Thank you very much, and I'll close at 10:56. General business.
Oh, yeah. Right.